So you'll want to know how to escape the rat race. I remember once that was my dream and I made it, and my purpose in this video is to give you the pathway to escape the rat race, because you're not a rat and you don't want to be in that race. So let's talk about this. It's easy to get trapped in a job because we have bills. You got a mortgage, you got a car payment, you got to pay for food, you got to take care of the kids. So it can be tough. So how do you make that transition from working for someone and having the security of a paycheck versus having your own deal where you make your own money? And the first key concept in this is you want to replace your income before you leave your job. That's number one thing. Do not jump off. And I once heard some self-help guru said, just leave everything behind, burn the ships, and you'll have to survive. Don't do that. That's not smart. That's a very nice concept, but it is not smart to do. What you want to do instead is start a business where you can start it on the side, you can grow it until it replaces your job income, and then you can leave your job with no stress at all. So let's talk about the kinds of businesses that you could do and how do you figure out what's right for you. Number one, I would just kind of take an inventory of what are your skills and what are your desires. Because if you're going to build something, it's a lot easier if you build on existing work skills that you have. And second, build something that you actually want to do. It's not good enough just because it's going to make money. What you want is something that is going to be something you find interesting and you'll want to stick with. So what I chose when I left my corporate job, which was essentially a lawyer working for a very large law firm, what I did is I went out on my own and I was doing things that I knew about. For example, back then, what I knew about was investing in real estate, fixing up houses and flipping them. I knew about managing properties. That's what I knew about. So I started buying properties that I could fix and flip. And when I had enough income from the fix and flip to replace my attorney income, then I gave notice at work and really never looked back. And it wasn't stressful because I had money coming in. I had houses that were in various stages of construction, and I had houses that were about to sell, and I had houses that had sold. So I had the money part dialed in. So it wasn't stressful. It's just a relief to leave work because I was like, I finally earned it. Now, it did take a lot of work to earn my way into that because I had to essentially do two jobs for a while. One was getting the fix and flip business up and running, and the other was still doing my attorney job. And that's pretty much what you need to do as an entrepreneur. And one of the questions you want to ask yourself as a potential entrepreneur is, do you have the drive to really make it? Because to be honest with you, everybody doesn't. If you really just want to be paid for spending time doing something, if you're kind of a time clock puncher, that's fine, but that is not going to make you a living as an entrepreneur. Because as an entrepreneur, you don't get paid for being there. You get paid for getting something done. For example, as a house flipper, I got paid for getting houses turned over and flipped. I didn't get paid for being there or thinking about it. As a would-be entrepreneur, you got to think, do you have the desire to get paid for what you actually accomplish? Or do you want to be paid just for spending time? And I'm not going to criticize anybody who just wants to be paid for spending time, except I'll tell you, you're not suitable to be an entrepreneur. I'll also tell you that if you're moving from corporate America into entrepreneurship, you do have to wear a lot of hats, especially new as an entrepreneur. You got to take care of the bookkeeping and the accounting and things like that. So what I'd suggest to you is think about partnering up with other people who might have skills that are complementary to what you have. So for example, let's say that I want to have my own law practice. Say that's going to be my own business. I may be a great lawyer. Like my work was real estate transactional work, so I may be able to draft contracts quickly and well, negotiate deals very well. I can do all that, but there's a lot more to running any business, including a law practice, than just doing the work. Bookkeeping, accounting, tax, compliance, marketing, advertising, bringing in the business. You have to do all those things, and as an entrepreneur, you're going to need to do those things. So back to you, take an inventory of what your skills are. We've talked about personality. One, a successful entrepreneur just gets the job done and will not take no for an answer. Will just work until the job is done, and they will find the resources to get the job done. They don't get defeated. That's the ideal entrepreneur personality. So think about, what are your skill sets? Some of the more successful entrepreneurs are people that leverage skills that they have and contacts that they have in the regular business world to start their next gig. So let's say, for example, you decided, I want to do consulting. And I would say, well, what do you do now? Well, I do shipping and logistics. Okay, great. You do shipping and logistics. Well, who could use that service? Maybe is new and doesn't have anybody that can handle that work for them, or maybe their business is a little too small and so they can't hire someone full time. And I would say to you, so what good can you do for people? You'd be like, well, I can get them better rates on freight. I can bring in connections so they get their things reliably places. I can show them how to reduce their mail and shipping costs. And I'd say, great, okay, why don't we identify companies that could use that and then reach out to them and say, hey, I think I could shave your shipping costs 20%. If you have half an hour to sit down, we'll set up an appointment, I'll sit down with you. Do that even by Zoom call. And you can then start to solicit some clients. And the key thing to remember here is you're leveraging what you know about. And if you know how to do that and you think about what businesses could use that, especially ones that don't have a full-time person either because they can't afford it or it's just not quite a full-time job, you can build a great business doing that. And that's a business you could expand over time. Whereas you add more and more clients, you bring on other consultants to help get the work done. And eventually you could be at the top of the pyramid where you have a bunch of people working for you. You own the business, you're not working that much, but you're making much more money than you ever could have made. Think about that. And it's also, I had an interesting conversation the other day with a friend of mine who's in his early 60s, and he just had a successful startup, has done really well. He just sold his business, made a bunch of money. And he said, I never thought I'd do a startup business in my 50s. And he was in his 50s when he started, 60s when he sold it. And I said, no, that's actually common. There's a Harvard Business School study that showed that many, many successful entrepreneurs are in their early 60s when they exit because they spent their early part of their career, when they're 20, 30, 40, even 50 years old, learning something useful, building industry connections, gaining expertise, gaining insight and knowledge and gaining experience. And then when that person goes out to start a business, they find it's fairly easy to get customers because they have often built-in customers. They have people they have relationships with who are like, hey, I know you'd want me to help you with this, but now I'm out on my own, I can do some consulting for you. Or, hey, I noticed you guys are doing, you're shipping this way, I can help you, save some money off that. You might not think, we think of the startup founder as a 20-something, and there are plenty of those, plenty of brilliant young people out there. But many of them, and probably more of them than you really think, are people that are actually older. There are also people, especially in the older category, that will buy an existing business. At this point, we have over 10,000 people a day hitting retirement age. And lots of those people are business owners who are like, I'd like to sell the business. And oftentimes there is no one to buy the business. They end up just shutting it down. So you can often get businesses at very good prices, even with built-in owner financing. And if it's in a field that it's pretty easy for you to evaluate it. And just because of demographics, it's a really good opportune time to do that. And you can look for those through business brokers. You can look for those through business connections. And I would say something to someone like, hey, I'm thinking about buying a business. Anybody selling a business in and whatever you're looking for. Landscaping, printing, consulting, computer work, whatever it is, and just start to network. And when you network, I think you'll find someone who says, yeah, I'd like to sell, I'm ready to retire, and I don't want to deal with a business broker. They say there's really no market for this. And often you get really, really good prices that way. And if it's in a field that you're familiar with, you have a much better chance of being successful at it. I think that's a great path out of it. Now, for me, what I did with my path is I took on something called Overages. Overages is a business where we help people who've lost a property at a foreclosure auction. The property sold for more than the amount of money that they owed, so more than the debt. And the difference between what it sells for versus what they owed is called overages. That's extra money left over. The former owners qualify to claim that money. If they claim it, they get the money. If they don't put in a formal claim, they don't get the money. Most people have no idea there's money out there that they could claim. Matter of fact, the state of Maryland, which is one of the states we do business in, did a study showing that less than 30% of the time people ever claim or get their money. So 70% of the time they don't get their money, which is just crazy and sad because these people lose their house to foreclosure, then they lose all the money generated from sale of that house that belongs to them. But if they don't apply for it, they don't get it, so they don't apply for it. And Maryland did that study 3 years in a row, 3 separate studies, and they all showed the same thing. Approximately 70% of the time, people never put in a claim for the money, and the state just kept the money. So that's the one that I did. I identified it. I worked hard to figure it out. I kind of became the godfather of this business. And it's a great business. There are thousands of properties sold every day at foreclosure auctions. There's hundreds of millions of dollars sitting out there. And we help people who really have lost everything to get some of their money back, get some of their pride back, get a fresh start in life. And we make great money because we get paid a percentage of everything we bring in. Give you more numbers. We've just put under contract this year a little over $6 million worth of claims so far. So, it's good money that's available. But a more important reason to do this work is it's great work. We're really helping people who've lost everything to get a fresh start in life. So if you're interested in learning about the overages business, I do teach the business as well as do it. So you can watch the short video I prepared called the Intro to the Overages Business. That's over my left-hand shoulder. You can see a link. The link doesn't show up. It just means your browser doesn't support it. Then just click down below in the description. You'll see a link to that video. In the Intro to the Overages Business, I'll give you an intro to the business, tell you how it works, tell you the pluses and minuses. And if at the end you want to learn the business, I'm happy to teach it to you. So go check that out. In the meanwhile, I hope you found this video useful. If you like it, please hit a like button because then YouTube will show it to more people. If you didn't like it, well, don't hit the like button and I guess I won't see you next time. But for those of you who liked it, which if you're still here, you probably did, I look forward to seeing you next time. And if you want to know about overages, just click on that link and I'll see you over there.